All right, I'm plowing through these structuring issues, and we've kind of dealt a little bit with DSCRs versus debt gearing constraints, with the effect of development fees and other adders to the cost when you have a gearing constraint, but not when you have a DSCR constraint. How you can use the development fee to structure the split between different investors, what the effect of sculpting or versus level repayments are, how you can use synthetic sculpting a little bit, um, what happens to the risk analysis, and a lot on the covenants and cash flow sweeps, the effects of mini perms with alternative refinancings, and the effect of a kind of bullet payment, which is very similar to the mini perm. I've got to put this the analysis of the sub debt and the flip structure. LLCRs, the complexities with different things, that's more mechanical. And then we have some yield co-analysis. I haven't done the IRR analysis on the yield co's yet, but okay, and this describes everything. Okay, and then uh, we have a number of analysis and a number of issues associated with PPAs and how to structure the PPA payments. Going to put a working capital analysis in here sometime. I have a nominal and real LCOE analysis, some swaps, and finally down here we're going to put some comparisons of using waterfall charts. For me, one of the most interesting things will be really the IRR problems. And right now, I'm going to deal with this one, the DSRA. If I call it a DSCR again, I don't know what to do. I just shouldn't. And we can deal with some bond issuance issues and ECA financing and other things. Okay, so uh, that's that. Okay, and now what I have done is put a spreadsheet together, and I've called it DSRA analysis. Now, what all I've done on this one, nothing fancy. This is really just taking the uh, analysis that I did before, putting a different construction phase in, and including a DSRA account. Okay, and I think in another video even showed you kind of the effect, not the effect, but the DSRA. Now, when I put the DSRA account in this time, I added another thing. Do I have the? I guess I do. So I added a potential for funding the DSRA or using an LC account. Now, let me just tell you, uh, when a DSRA has some funny effects. Since it's part of the project cost, I've even heard somebody say, "Oh, DSRA helps us because we get a higher cost and we get higher debt." Well, you do get higher debt. You also get higher equity, and you also have an asset that somebody else said was a sleeping asset. It earns about 0%, and you've got to finance that asset with debt or equity. So it's unambiguous that if we could use the uh, uh, if we can use the LC instead of the DSRA, we can get a higher. I hope I'm not saying DSCR and DSRA. I have a feeling I said that wrong, but what the hell? Uh, we can unambiguously get a higher IRR. But some people might say that's not a fair comparison because the reason you get a higher IRR is because we don't have to do any financial model on this. If the interest rate you're paying on the debt and the equity you're paying too results in a kind of average cost of capital of, let's say, 6%, maybe 8%, whatever the project IRR is, and then you're getting about 0.5% at most on the LC, maybe the LC on the DSRA account that's stuck in maybe the same bank as you made the borrowing from, you're losing money. You're paying 8% and getting 0.5% or less. That doesn't take any sophisticated financial model to demonstrate. And then on top of that, now if you use an LC, you only pay about 0.5%, maybe 1.5%, who knows? But even that is so much smaller than that differential between the cost of capital and what you're losing. It doesn't take much. Now, there are some interesting issues because if you are constrained by the gearing ratio, then at least the DSRA does increase the gearing. If you're constrained by the DSCR, I'm getting DSRA and DSCR right out here, I hope. If you're constrained by the DSCR, then the debt is not affected, and even if you have a much higher DSRA, you just get stuck. Now there is a small secondary effect that income from the DSRA should, in theory, increase the cash flow and increase the debt by a little, but banks have a tough time even assuming anything other than a zero interest rate this. So right now, this analysis, and what do we have here? Shift Control C. We have some of the different dates, and I'm just going to remind you that if we make this red and this one, we make the add-ins, and we gotta go to our developer and go to and run the generic macros, and then suddenly the add-ins appear, and then we go to our model, and then we run this tab color. I have to do this, it's such a pain to make that thing work, so that's what comes from the other sheet. Okay, so now if it's I did a lot of this because it's really not that complicated. Once we have the DSRA, this we should have some better, okay, this is why don't I put the DSRA account in a bigger thing here. So the DSRA account, I've done it so many times, so I hate it, by the way. We look at the prospective debt service, and then we compare the prospective debt service to the opening balance, see how much we have to top up. Now, if we fund the DSRA, I'll move over to the end here, then I put a little true, and we should fund it either from construction before the construction period, or this has just a simple level repayment, so we repay it at the end of the thing. Now, another subtle and important issue, I think a really important issue, is that you could argue that if you had a DSRA account like this that's providing all this cash flow, if you were especially doing sculpting or something, that repayment of this final repayment shouldn't be made. We should essentially make this very final repayment, we should reduce the amount, so the total debt is less by this repayment, and this final repayment, this final little bullet, uh, uh, could come straight from the DSRA account. I'm just thinking about how to model that right now. I can't think of an extremely easy way to do it. I don't know. It might be a whole lot more complicated. Now, I put a high interest income rate here. I don't know why. Okay, and now if we don't fund the DSRA, we do the same analysis. We leave the same thing up here. We show what the required amount is, but this required amount is paid for with a LC. Now, where's my LC cost? LC fee. I assumed, I don't know why that's such a high fee, but it's the E149 T135. T135 is up here. I should have just, that's kind of ridiculous. You know, let's put the, I'm going to redo that because it's not clear enough. So that, one more. So the LC fee, so we first say, is it funded? So if it's funded, so let's put a not false, and I think not false will be equal to true. And then let's put the LC fee here. And don't worry about my crazy numbers. Now I'm going to just divide that by 2 and for Shift Control P. So the LC fee is the on the last year, last period, times this fee times whether it's true or false. Now down here I subtracted the LC fee, and if it's not funded, we should have. Okay. Oh, okay. I didn't put the F4 on the true or false. That was very, very bad. Okay. And now let's make sure it's okay. So we have 386. And let's take this shit crap out of here and just make sure we put the LC fee from here. I think that's a lot more transparent, so we can see what happens if we're funded or not. We still have to kind of do all the DSRA stuff, so we might as well just leave that out. Okay, and then we can go down to the bottom. Here we got our cash flow waterfall. Just operating cash flow, added the interest income on the DSRA. Okay, and take away the LC fee. And then we can, at the very end, you know, we have this top up. Okay, so, but this top up that provides the cash flow is only there if we have the funded DSRA account. You know, of course, maybe I didn't emphasize this enough, but if the DSRA is funded, then we go past our COD date and look at all of those. Okay, and then finally, I put the equity IRR here. That's what our eyes should focus on, even though IRR has so many problems. And then let's see how it's sensitive to some of these inputs. Now, right now, I put a ridiculous kind of thing. And I didn't put I suppose I could have put a scenario analysis in, but let's just mess around with this. So right now, if the DSRA is funded and we earn a lower rate DSRA, on the interest income, our and we earn a rate something like, okay, below 1% certainly. Here, that's about right. Then, and then if we have a LC fee of about 0.5% too, let's leave it at 60%. Then the difference between funding and not funding is pretty big, and let's put a higher debt amount. That's too high. Okay, that would be pretending we have some development fees and everything else. So then we get kind of a pretty dramatic result if we have thin equity. If we have uh, kind of a big equity buffer, okay, um, we can then you see there's a much less of an effect because the DSRA is less proportion of the capital structure. Okay, so let's put this back up. And then, if we so let's put it up to 85% about. Now, if we are earning a higher IRR, well, I'm not sure that I was expecting it to be a bigger differential with a bigger higher IRR. The reason is because you're using some of your equity capital up here to fund the DSRA. So if you keep the debt to capital ratio the same, both the debt and the equity are changing when we change this one. Okay? And I don't know what much else to say except that, of course, if the interest rate income rate is even as high as let's put it even all the way up to the debt rate, okay? And let's see, and then well, let's make the LC rate up to now I'm gonna have to save it again, and L let's make the LC rate up to 1.5%. Okay. Now, if the DSRC, hang on, where am I? Okay, leave it. No, let's leave it 12% for now. So with the funding, it still is a lower rate. It's still a lower rate, and that's because you have to fund some of it with equity, essentially. It's still better to get the LC. Okay, now if this time let's put the equity up higher. Funded, not funded. It didn't make that much of a difference, I suppose. I was expecting it to make a little more, but whatever. So if it's funded, even let's put we're not losing money on the interest, and even there, it's better not to be funded, isn't it? Slightly. So that's the cost of having a DSRA account. Now, yeah, I suppose the other thing I don't have is the fact that if we did this after tax, the effect I think would be even worse because interest income is taxable while the LC fee is not taxable. So why don't we put a simple tax in here? Do we have project pre-tax IRR. Is this gonna be too long? How long are we on? Oh, 19 minutes. Not that much. You can turn it off now. It's gonna be pretty boring the rest of this because I'm going to Well, I'm going to turn it off while I put depreciation in here. You don't need to see. Okay, while I was on the phone, I put the taxes in. I hope I did everything okay. In this scenario, we had a little bit of a negative tax. Let me see if I can. I'll increase the IRR a little bit. I wish it was that easy. Well, I don't care. Really, I just make these silly little examples. Um, so, oh, I have zero tax rate in here, but what's our earnings before tax? They're high enough now. Okay. So, oh, why in the hell that? Ugh, I hate that. Okay, so now without the DSRA funding, oh, maybe that's too high an IRR. Well, let's put so here we have a difference 21.84 versus about a 1% difference. That's all. Shit. Let's make it back to this one. And if it's this, about still about the same. Oh, let's put a little bit more realistic interest income rate. How about this? Let's put a little bit lower LC fee. 11.112, so about 1.5%. Now, if we put a tax rate in, 50% is too high. Let's put a tax rate of 40%, 11.41. Oops. Oh, shit. It looks like the taxes didn't have an effect. Just a minute. Okay, obviously I didn't adjust the equity IRR for the taxes. Just a minute. CFADS is this minus the taxes. Did I put the taxes in? Okay, we have this. No, this is wrong here. Come on. Oh, man. Oh, I didn't copy it across. Okay, that would have been a hard one to catch. So, without taxes, we have this. With taxes, let's put a 30% tax, and let's say we have to increase our rates to compensate for the taxes. So 11.56. It didn't really make much difference, and I can't even tell if it so if it's zero tax rate, it was 15 versus 14.39. If we had 50% tax, 10 versus 9, but on a percentage basis, maybe it's bigger. So let's increase this by 2, 14.17 versus 12.96. These should have been after tax. Okay, I think I beat this one to death, frankly. And this is our DSRA analysis. Really, this DSRA analysis is a DSRA analysis with the leverage constraint. And I think I'm gonna retitle this, and then I'll delete the other one. So this is DSRA analysis with gearing constraint. And then we'll make a second leverage analysis, a DSRA analysis, and instead of with the gearing constraint, we'll make it with the DSCR constraint. I should have put a balance sheet in here too. Maybe I'll get motivated and put one in. Maybe not. Okay, but not during the video. I'm stopping the video right now. Okay, that's our first kind of DSRA